Call the meeting to order. I'll call roll call. Aaron Hopkins, here. Donnie Meyer, here.
Jerry Kelly here.
We have a quorum. Now we're gonna do oath of office.
So, trying to see if I can get in contact with Jeff Graham. We do not have him online or his, counsel and his colleague.
While you're working on
And
that, we want
yes,
to move to
yeah, we
elections.
just move that and go to elections, and
Okay.
the 2 out of the 3 would suffice for your election of. We will not be able to accept Aaron's vote until he is sworn in. However, the 2, you and Jerry, will count for quorum to be able to obtain those election of officers for this year.
Okay. So the election officers is the president and vice president. That's it,
Yes,
right?
that is correct, yeah.
Nominations for president.
I nominate Donnie.
Motion for Donnie. And he can't do anything. Okay. I will accept it.
Okay, all right, so,
All in favor, aye, yeah, yeah. Vice President, I nominate
Okay.
Gary Kelly.
okay,
Okay.
And we established our officers.
okay, all right, so we've got Donnie Meyer as chair, and as vice chair, we have Jerry Kelly. All right. Those being confirmed and voted by Donnie Meyer and Jerry Kelly. Okay. All right.
See you on.
Yeah, you know,
Okay, we'll move on to approval of the previous minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the previous minutes.
I'll second. Approved. Aye. This is gonna be very, very easy. Old business, Elm Street reconstruction project update, Denise.
right. Good evening. I am here on behalf of Scott Resky. He is out of town, so he is staff lead on this board. And I've been working with him on this project along the way, so I'm quite familiar with the project. But I let him know that I'd be more than happy to give you an update as to what has taken place since our November meeting, when the project was initially introduced. So we are very excited that this 3-phase project is now underway. It's caused a lot of flooding in the area with some collapsed storm lines along railroad bed that sits between South Pendleton Avenue and Main Street. And so we are on phase 1, which is the Elm Street Drain Reconstruction Project. So tonight I'm going to provide some more details about the project that have developed along the way and just give some updates to the board. So we had our bid opening that took place on February the 1st. Town council had received 4 bids, and you'll see those outlined in your presentation. We'll go through from the lowest bid to the highest bid. The lowest bid was submitted by United Construction Service. That came in at $457,000. The second bid then came in from BL Brown, and that came in at $597,849.56. The third bid came in from SLB Pipe Solutions at $698,455. And then the last one came in from Connectco, and that was $723,057.17. As you see there before you, the project estimate with add-ons and addendums that came in a little bit later was projected to cost about $538,000. Originally, when this was presented, we anticipated about $480,000, but we added some features and elements along the way. But still, even at that higher cost estimate, we're saving the town about $80,000 with the quote and awarded bid that went to UCS. So that being said, those are being paid by stormwater fees. That's where those the funding will come. It's not a grant-based fund for this phase of the project. UCS being the apparent lowest bidder and winner, we had submitted this to Banning Engineering. They checked, made sure that all the specs of the construction and the bid documents were met. And then we presented it to Town Council on February the 8th for approval. At that night, they approved it and the contract was fully executed on February the 14th. Pre-construction meeting was held on the 27th of February. Notice to proceed letter I sent out on March 1st, and then construction began on Monday, March the 4th. So just some kind of details about the project. I know, Aaron, you're new to the board, so we'll kind of give you a little bit background on this project, but you'll see here in the image below on the presentation, this here, it is phased out into 3 different phases. So for the first phase, it's here outlined in red. So this is the railroad bed in which an original drain was constructed back in the 1900s. It stretches from Elm Street all the way across Main Street, then to this culvert that then connects to a pipe that then dumps out to the Fall Creek there behind, or kind of the middle of Arabian Point subdivision. Then the second project, I'll briefly mention this a little bit later in the presentation, but this is Elm Street. That's going to be a road reconstruction piece of the project that's going to also include some storm improvements. And then the last leg, the last piece of the project is Main Street here. And that's pretty much going to be some widening, some striping, adding some on-street parking. And then we'll resurface then over the patched asphalt then that is going to be required for the storm new drain that's going to run across Main Street here. So with this project, there along this stretch here on the railroad bed, that clay pipe has collapsed in several areas. So the control of flooding and stormwater and rain runoff just has not been efficient in this area. And so all these properties here have sustained heavy flooding for many years. And so that drain, we're going to replace with a 36-inch pipe. And that 36-inch pipe is an HDPE pipe. It's a high density polyethylene, I believe is what it's how it's pronounced. And that is just ideal conduit for drainage due to its strength, its corrosion resistance, and also impact resistance. That drain is going to be perforated. It's going to allow absorption from the ground and surface water, as well. It's going to be enclosed with fabric. So that will prevent any dirt to be able to enter into the pipe system. That main pipe is going to sit about 10 to 12 feet underground along that railroad bed, as well as along and across the roadway. So it's a pretty deep trench that UCS is creating to be able to install the new pipe. And that pipe from Elm Street to about to Main Street is about 750 feet. And then from Main Street on the east side all the way to the Fall Creek, it's about an additional 275 feet of piping that's going to be installed. That piping here along Main Street, when it crosses here, it's going to cross in front of a couple of lots of Arabian Point, lot 10 and 12. And then it's going to come and it's going to connect into the pipe here that then will lead to into the creek. But since they've been on site, they've really been able to take a look at the elevation, the placement of those lots and how they will develop in time as well. And they've redesigned and rerouted that drain on the west side of Main Street slightly. So right now, they originally were going to start construction from the south end and work northbound. Because of the need to reconfigure this connection right in here, they have started with the edge of lot 12 right here where this pointer is, and they've installed probably, I would say, 20 feet so far of manhole with then the trench and the new drain that leads up to Main. They started saw-toothing yesterday, the road, so that I've not been out there today to see if they've exposed that and opened that up. But then they're going to then continue to fill in that trench as they install that new drain. And they've already started filling it in. I will show you some pictures that they provided from the site here in a few minutes. But this connection here, we're waiting on redesign here. So what's going to happen is they're going to most likely install the new drain across Main Street. They anticipate that to take about 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll have that open when school resumes from spring break. And then they'll come back and they'll work on the south portion to install the connection to the drain. And then they'll work on the railroad bed from there. Kind of the anticipated order there. Stephanie, if you want to switch to the next screen, I'll show you just approximately how this was reconfigured. So the blue line was from the original drawings and presentation of this project of how they anticipated this new drain to come across Main and then tie into the creek here. The yellow line illustrates what and how they're going to be reconfiguring that. But again, the exact engineering work of this little piece is still under works. So then if you go to the next slide, so this slide is one of the pieces. You have the full construction documents in your Google Drive for review, but this is one of the pictures that shows what additional features that we are offering the property owners on and along South Pendleton Avenue. So here, right in this area is the construction zone of the drain. And then off from the center line of the railroad bed, we're going to be installing yard drains, and we're going to be installing about 9 or 10 of these along the way. These yard drains are subject to adjust, move north or south. The contractor and engineer is going to be working with the homeowners there to see if where the projected preliminary anticipated locations are the most ideal, or if we need to shift it to make sure that we hit those areas that pool and gather water. But these property owners have all provided right of entries for the property to be entered into, with the agreement that construction will be entered from the railroad bed and not from the Pendleton Avenue and crossing through the yards. But these yard drains, they're going to be about 4 feet underground. They're going to tie into the main drain. So as they collect the water, it'll then shoot it into the main drain, then will eventually then go south into the creek. However, even though they may adjust north and south on these placements, and then right here, you'll see out of the scope of the project, these were just added in because the properties do accommodate and show the need for yard drains. So we do have permission from those property owners as well. But even though we may adjust then north and south, they're only going to sit probably about 2 to 3 feet east of that railroad bed. So they're not going to be installed far into the property. However, the town is offering, we added this as a feature to the project, the yard drains are going to have a 4-inch perforated pipe, and it's going to kind of serve as a lateral effect. So they can tie into at any point in time. They can, if they have any pooling water a little bit farther east in their property, if they want to connect a drain from their basements in their home, they can connect that and allow that water to be pumped into then and connected into the main drain there at their yard drain. Those yard drains, the material is Nyloplast inline drain, and at the top of it's going to have a dome crate. So then that way it will prevent any type of glass or grass clippings and debris and so forth that just collect over it and then not be able to be found. So they all did agree to a dome grate on that. And that inline drain, it's going to connect to a cast basin structure. Like I said, it's going to offer that lateral feature that they can connect to at any time in the future. And then that drain feature also will have fittings on it that allow it to adjust up and down as necessary for the elevation. So. And the project, I think I mentioned this earlier, it is being installed for the most part from the south up to the north, uphill. And we will then make sure that, we connect this here in the right way. Banning Engineering is a great group, and they're working on right now of getting the markings and getting that laid out. And also to work with Kyle Smith. He is the developer of Arabian Point, and make sure it works well with his properties that he still has left to develop there. So we will show you some pictures here on the next page. But as they are constructing, here's some close-ups here. You'll see there's a lot of limestone in the area, so that's slowing them down a little bit. They said about the first 3 to 4 feet of soil is pretty soft, but it gets pretty hard and rocky farther down as you go. But here you can see where the trench boxes are that they're working on to install this pipe. This pipe has actually already been installed and I believe already filled in. And then you can see where they started sawtoothing, and this is where it's going to cut across Main Street. And then this is up north then onto the railroad bed. They're having to do a lot of potholing to work around those utilities. There's a lot of fiber, water lines, there's sewer lines in there as well. And so they've been able to work around there, and there's even some gas lines in the area as well. Stephanie, if you want to go back to, I would say maybe not this next image, but then the next prior page here. Oh, go back down right here. This one right here. Yeah. Farther on north into the project, there is also right here and about where these tree lines are here, there is a box, like a vault, a concrete vault box. And so what had been constructed years ago in this property along, I think it's 320, but along that north lot line, there is a drain that runs off of North Pendleton Avenue, and it ties into this concrete vault box, which then sends, it collects it into the drain ideally, but then it also, that overflow, when we have heavy rain at a fast speed, it dumps and it comes up gurgling, bubbling out into one of the properties here off of Main Street, 239 Main Street. And so that causes significant flooding for that property owner pretty much halfway up his property. So what they're going to do is they're going to remove that completely. They're going to install a new drain that will connect to the main drain here. And then they're going to shift that crate that they have and that storm drain here on that property on Main Street. They're going to shift it slightly south, I believe, and then they're going to connect it into the main drain as well. So those two adjustments should eliminate all the flooding in on that property. So, and then going north for now, they are going to just stub off the drain. So it's going to be a 5-foot stub with a collar. So then eventually, which it kind of leads then to phase 2 of the project. We won't go into that whole lot in detail, but phase 2, we just applied for Community Crossings grant at the end of January. We should hear in April when we should get awarded on that. We will probably be under construction summer, fall of 2024. But in that project, we'll add on and attach to that stub, run the drain across the road, we'll connect into a storm drain in the rear of the lumberyard property. So that will then kind of give us, allow all of the water that pools here from the lumberyard and those nearby properties to go on south to the creek. Long-term plan is to then tie in the downtown stormwater system into this drain system to then eliminate flooding farther on north into the downtown area that we have around, got East Street, we got Broadway, we got a lot of roads there that show some flooding concerns. So And then phase 3, the last phase of the project, will be Main Street reconstruction. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And basically, as far as the drain portion of it, it will resurface over our patchwork that we have. And that will be applied for in the July application for community crossings. We should hear back by the fall and then be under contract and through the bid process and so forth, and have construction spring of 2025. As far as this phase, it is to be substantially completed by the end of July. It's to be completed by the end of August. However, UCS feels like they should be able to be completed by end of April, early May. That may get extended a little bit with the limestone. But we just don't know what we're going to see until we get that railroad exposed and see what's underneath there, what they're going to be dealing with. They'll have that clay pipe to deal with as well. But still, we do not anticipate any reason why we will not be able to meet the contract deadline.
So this isn't going the same route as the old clay pipe.
It's just that the old clay pipe just starts at Elm Street and it runs to Main Street.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so we're
once
just
they get up in there, then the rock won't be a problem because it's already been dug out.
That is correct. But they did mention yesterday, the project manager, he did mention, he said, we don't know what that's going to look like. We still may have some issues. But it's just been years since that's been exposed and none of our eyes on it that, that are here today. So, but yeah, hopefully it shouldn't be as hard as what their first leg is for sure.
On the north end when it connects there behind the lumber yard, will that obstruct any of the access to that PNC Bank building?
No, they're actually, they have been in communication with the owner of the PNC building. They're going to reconstruct their entrance. They have some plans that in that drive-through portion, they're going to enclose as an additional suite, so which will shift their drive anyway farther west. So we're going to reconfigure their entrance off of that, but it will not affect their access to their property. And they're going to, a part of that project will be doing some improvement to their property because it will impact some of their sidewalks, because they're going to be installing some sidewalks there. But they're really pleased with the work that is going to be done.
On the south end where they made the change, where it makes a 90.
Oh, yes.
I assume there's going to be a manhole set there.
Yes, there is another, yes, that is correct. There's supposed to be a second manhole. The placement of that is not known exactly at this time. So they're still trying to figure out where that second manhole would be. I believe, did you say Scott is on the phone?
Yes.
He could probably confirm that for sure. But I believe they've installed the first manhole right at lot 10. But there's supposed to be another manhole farther.
Okay, Alan. I couldn't hear the question.
The question is that will there be a second manhole that's going to be constructed closer to the connection to the open ditch there at Fall Creek?
The 90, Scott.
Yeah, kind of where it connects in there, right in front of Kyle Smith's personal property.
What could you bring the drawing back up? You had the drawing out there, didn't you?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
there.
Can you see what's up?
So I believe that there's going to be a second manhole somewhere right in here, but they just don't know the exact alignment yet. Now,
I do know that the current manhole, they're gonna pull that old one out and reconstruct it. And they may have to move it a few feet. And then I think from there I don't trust my memory, but I think it does go right into the ditch from there.
yeah, there's one.
I don't think we had if I could be wrong, but I don't think we had a lot of room in there with the sanitary. The sanitary has with the two with it close, and then a third one that's farther down to the west.
I was just concerned that we weren't going to deadhead a 36-inch and make a 90 to make it turn without some kind of a catch basin.
Yeah, and it may not, that's probably a little bit more sharper of a turn than what is being planned.
So Donnie, your concern is when it discharges into the ditch, what's that gonna look like? That's a
Yeah.
good question. Let me look into that. That's a good point. You just
Oh,
don't,
here's
we
Scott.
don't want that ditch. We don't want that ditch eroding. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, let me look, we'll look into that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're talking the 36-inch pipe down through there for the project that's before us for stage 1, 2, and 3. You mentioned that you eventually want to add on to the town to drain that way. Is that 36-inch pipe gonna be enough?
Yeah, the design is based on the fact that that whole drainage basin, which is basically everything south of State Street and west of Pendleton Avenue. So it's designed to take all that.
Okay,
Isn't
Yeah.
it a 20-inch clay tile that's egg shaped now, Scott?
I think it's clay. It might be 18. We did some we exposed it, but it's been, gosh, 2.5 years since we exposed it, but it's roughly that size. And
Yeah.
of course, trees have, the tree roots have really done a lot of damage to it. There's a lot of sediment buildup. The 3 areas where we exposed it, it was more than half to 3/4 of sediment built up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that line's not been working.
No, has been working for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once we get out of the road, I think we'll be all right. The I think we're no more than 3 feet deeper on the invert elevation from the old clay line to the new line that we're putting in. We may find out that they put it there because they couldn't go any deeper, but of course that'll add to the cost, but that's all right.
I was
The
just saying,
best-
was the soil borings done prior to this?
No, because we made the assumption that since that existing line was there,
Except
That-
by a bottom bit.
that we would, if we ran into limestone, it wouldn't be that much.
Okay.
Wouldn't be that deep, much deeper. Either way, the bottom line is we've got to get that line in there.
Right.
It's just no two ways.
No, I'm just curious if soil borings were done.
No, you guys those are really good questions.
That's
Do you have
all
any
I-
other questions or
That's all I
anything,
got.
or?
no, that's all I got.
Um,
I was just.
No, great question. Scott, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, good job. Thank you.
That's
Okay,
all I have.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is Graham on?
Mm-mm. Nope. Still no.
So no new business?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have there been complaints about the tax, the payment for the storm
For the storm fees that
storm
are
fees
with
for
the
your
tax?
taxes?
I haven't received anything, not
No, it's been pretty quiet.
real
Okay,
quiet.
I know, and people may not know it, but and I know I'm not the only one, but my mortgage company didn't pay last year because they said that that it was submitted after it should have been, and they didn't have the information to pay it in time. And so I got like a $7 penalty from the taxes.
Hmm.
And looking into it, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. And
Okay.
people just may not know it yet, or may not pay attention.
Yeah, I was trying to think, is this our 3rd year now of fees? Is that correct, Scott? Does that sound
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, this coming year.
second, third. We did get a lot of calls that first year. And they direct us, then back to the town of Pendleton to explain, the stormwater fee. But
Well, I don't think it was on the first year. I think it was on what?
Yeah.
Last
So
year.
what happened was, we got a call from the county. They had submitted their stuff to their tax billing vendor, and they forgot to put our stuff into it, right? And then so they went ahead and submitted early, and we hadn't submitted our stuff to them, which would have been about the same time we did the year before, but they were ahead of schedule, and then we got missed, which I'm not too upset about it because we're not in their habit pattern yet, right? Now we are. We've done it twice, but
And it's been
um,
submitted already for this year, right? Cause it shows up on my tax bill already.
yeah, well, yeah, Stephanie and I learned our lesson, so we had it done by the end of the year, so well ahead of time.
So there's no chance of the county waiving those penalties or anything?
Nobody's asked for that. I don't know what the magnitude of it is. We could do it.
It was $7. So I mean, it's not. It's not gonna kill me, but
Yeah. No, but the fact that you have a penalty, right?
right.
Even though it's $7, you're like, what?
Oh, it's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right, that's where you go.
Yeah, 2 cups, depends on where you go.
Well, that you bring up a good point, Jerry. So when I get back, Stephanie's gonna help me look into that, right, Stephanie?
I was hoping you'd ask me that. Oh, good point.
Anything else, Scott?
No. I hope that's an easy thing to do. We just go in and work with the tax billing software and just have them do a blanket erasure or deletion of the those penalties. Hopefully they can do it in mass.
Well, Aaron, I'm sorry that we can't take your oath tonight, but I know Stephanie's got forms for you that you can take them to a notary public and, they can go ahead and attest and sign for you and you can turn that in. And then at our next meeting, make sure that we take that.
Is there somebody here during the week?
We have Dawn Speedy that's here in the clerk's office. We can let her know that.
I might be able to stop by Friday
Okay,
during business hours.
okay.
Try to remember to get that done
Yeah.
Friday.
We will. Stephanie will give you the form. There was one that's a generic form for the notary public. Instead of having Jeff Graham's signature on there, that's the one that she would want to use, and I'll give her a heads up tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be in Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're here 9 to 4.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, then we'll adjourn the meeting.